Let's begin. First of all, welcome to the GIMI think tank. The GIMI think tank meets every Wednesday to discuss innovation management, innovation trends. We have speakers from the world who come in and talk about these topics. They're experts in their fields. The three particular sections we talk about. Number one is trends. What are the biggest trends of the future? We had people talk about Industry 4.0. We've talked about nanotechnologies. We've talked about cryptocurrencies and other topics. On the other side, we also talk about innovation management. What's the latest on innovation management 4.0? And what are new ways to do this thing? And how is digital transformation affecting innovation management? And those topics have come about, and we've shared with crowdsourcing and other techniques. And then ultimately, we talk about country level innovation. We had people speak from Japan. People speak about what's going on in Jordan, what's going on in Colombia, what's going on in Canada and other countries. Today, we are honored to get a speaker by the name of Florin Paun, who will be speaking. And his topic is very relevant in this very moment in terms of demand and demand generation and how to manage all this. And what I'm going to do is, who is our champion for Florin, who sponsored him?
Please, Crisanto HP.
So Crisanto, if you don't mind giving a few words of introductions for Florin and his background, so that the rest of the people know that you are coming, it's been referred by you. Crisanto, you're on mute.
Okay. Hitendra, actually, I did introduce Florin earlier, but let me repeat again. I met Dr. Florin Paun 3 years ago when he visited Indonesia. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Paun about his dissertation or postulate or whatever it's called that combines the technology readiness level and demand readiness level into the strategy of the downstreaming the innovation into the market. So what is added in the equation is that technology and innovation downstreaming is not just technology or science or based, but also it depends very much on how businesses or users are ready to adopt or pick the idea of innovation. The more ready the demand is, then the more likely that your innovation will be more successful, which is actually, it's like a solution for the problem of the value of debt that we people, especially like me, like engineer or scientists, we believe that if the innovation is not successful, well, we cannot do much about it. Probably the customer is not ready. They don't understand a good thing brought to by the engineers or the scientists. So there's nothing we can do of avoiding value of that. So I think Dr. Paun brings solution to that. And this actually has been based on his practical experience, which is actually very important. It is not just theory with a mathematical formula, but it is based on his experience in doing the technology transfer office at the ONERA, which actually the French NASA, how to downstream the technology results into the application by applying also the factor of demand readiness. So I'd like us to actually to look at this seriously, because a lot of problems with the innovation downstreaming and application, it is because of the failure to meet the demand needs. So the needs of the users in the market. So that's Hitendra. Thank you.
Thank you, Crisanto. Florin, you have the floor, and we got about 30 minutes, and then we'll basically do some Q&As. And hopefully we'll get some dynamic interactions through the section discussions. You should have permission to be able to project your slides.
Excellent. Do you have it?
Yes, we see it.
We tested previously, it works. Now I put it in full screen. I not been. Okay, so thank you for giving me the floor about this. Thank you to Crisanto to have the idea to suggest to GIMI such a useful tool. You'll see there are a lot of guys who already adopted, while going for innovation, and particularly going for decision in investing or not in an innovation project. Well, nowadays I'm a Chief Science and Partnership Officer for the industrial group RAFO, so I'm wearing this hat. This is official, but I'm not only this. So I'm speaking through my experience gained as former innovation director for ONERA, which is National Études Recherche Aérospatiale, which means the French aerospace lab in a way. I'm also business angel. I'm also member of the European Council of Innovation as jury member, and there we could invest up to 2.5 million euro in direct subsidies and up to 15 million euro in equity shares to provide Europe with unicorns. And I will try to share with you my findings based on, you understood, I've seen and try to take decisions about more than 400 plus innovation projects, 17 gone for technological ventures and license agreements, tech transfer, and so on. And more than 100, the European Innovation Council, as well ONERA at that time, decide to invest on, okay? So here you have a lot of logos and things like that. It's I think the organizer will share the presentation with you. For me, it's okay, no problem with this. You could go and pick up them directly on the internet with the names. You also have one big bankruptcy here. It's not bankrupt, but it was, let's say, they have some problems while getting in China because they've been copied, of course, and so on, and they were not well protected. The others are still going. Among the 70 tech ventures, I negotiate from A to Z here, while transferring technology from aerospace and defense on various sectors, including porous titanium biomedical prostheses, just an example. We had 4 jackpots there, and we have also 4, even 5 bankruptcies. So it works. And I try to find some commonalities, why it's working, when it's working, and why it doesn't work. Okay, so this is where I share with you some thoughts. Okay, I am with a public which is working in innovation, so I will not insist too much. I quote only Professor Eric von Hippel, creator of the lead user method while innovating. I had the chance to have it as professor at MIT Sloan. He defined innovation with successful exploitation of a new idea. The main idea, as Ralph Katz, professor in the same corner, said, innovation is not like Christantov said previously, is not only creating something, it's not only science, it's not only an innovation, an invention, it's an invention which brings value, and value recognized by the market. What means value? In socioeconomic terms, you have 4 aspects: commercial, capitalistic, access to resources, and human capitals. I will not insist that the last 3 create, in the sense of Amartya Sen, a Nobel Prize in Economy, the so-called dynamic capabilities. Is the value material or intangible? Assets, of course, both. IP, it's one of them, because it's providing you trademark for commercial rights to use capacities, technologies as a patent, and it provides you know-how. Since '98, secret know-how is a knowledge as being part of the IP. Information, of course, its value. If you don't believe me, look to Twitter, which until April 2018, when they declared the first benefits, they only lost money, but lost money with hundreds of millions, and they were still valuing several billions. Why? Because they were sitting on a mountain of information. Just know that from 160 million tweets per day, you have a lot of them in the style of, hey, I'm Paris Hilton drinking a champagne. So value, okay, close to zero. But 6 million tweets per day are based on opinions, comments, evaluation tweets. Okay, so this is a golden mine for marketing. As soon they were able to extract the information from the ocean of nothing and classify, categorize, they could become king of marketing and tendencies. So information is value. I will be much more provocative, including stress avoidances, value. And if you don't believe, just take a low cost company while traveling, and you will understand that if you want to sit close to your friend, you need to pay $15 more. If you want to have a luggage in order to have more stuff with you, you pay. If you want to don't queue, you pay, and so on. At the end, you pay almost the same value that's at the regular company, but at least you know why you pay it, and you avoid stress. Another fundamental, as a reminder, is we could not innovate without entrepreneur. That's definitely is not me who said it. It's since Schumpeter, the entrepreneur as a driving force, and the entrepreneur need to be, of course, very passionate, sometimes very selfish, egoistic, I will say. Even some in the movies, Social Network, you've seen that Mark Zuckerberg was questioning his lawyer, Amy, please tell me, am I a jerk? And the answer was, no, Mark, but you did everything to become one. Well, it is needed. It is needed. If you don't have ambition, if you don't take risk, if you are not ready to step on the others, you will not win in the market, because the market is jungle in a way. So you need this, but of course you need also to be charismatic leader, promoter, manager, and so on. Nobody alone is possessing all these features. So that's why we recognize the good entrepreneur by the guy who's building the entrepreneurial team as a state of the mind, and he put them towards a culture of entrepreneurship as a day-to-day activity, which means how could I create value together with the people I will meet today? This is the only question, and it's how we recognize a good entrepreneur. Now we are going to the Bible of the innovator while speaking about technological innovation. And of course, since 1985 white paper published by Mankins at NASA, we have the TRL and we stick on TRL. Very simple and very easy. Technology readiness level. I put here the original thermometer. It was adapted a lot. We could say that in one, you have fundamental research. In two, you have applied research. You know what you are doing and for what. Proof of concept in three. Four, you have something running in the laboratory environment. Five, you test various components. You do the tolerances and you see if the design is robust, if it's still working while changing components. Six, you are getting on the ground, on the field. It's working in operational conditions. Seven, you pack everything, you put the wires in, and you have the so-called industrial prototype. It's okay, you did it, no more risk on technology. Please do 10,000 times the same time, the same stuff, and in due time with the same quality. This is how to set up industrialization, and this is the 8. And in 9, you go for norms. You are certified that you respect the norms and you are entitled to sell. How the ideas are going, and you will understand why the Death Valley. Well, the ideas are going dramatically from 1,000 to 1 potential product or service. And this is the curve related to investment. more you advance in developing the technology, more the investment it's big. And when you are entitled to sell, you are even going more deep because you engage, let's say you scramble all your money because you launch the product into the market, you do the advertising campaign, and unfortunately, it could appear that the best off-roader in the world, who won 7 times Paris-Dakar, I mean Mitsubishi, was not sold with the same success like the Toyota Land Cruiser or Nissan Patrol or others, because simply Mitsubishi Pajero, it's a very pejorative name in Spanish. Okay, it could go to this kind of mistakes. You launch the best product into the market, you launch it very bad, and it's sticked into the dead valley because he's losing money, he's not getting in positive. Some levels of risk when you take decision to invest in maturing technology. Here you have a huge risk because from laboratory you still have a risk on technology and you have the risk on the market. So in TRL3 you decide to invest to go for the tech demonstrator, it's a huge risk. The tech demonstrator, no more risk on technology, is still the risk. Will you go into the market well or not? And of course, in 9, when you launch your product, well, it's going for scrambling all the money. And if you have the bad advertising campaign, you lose the money. That's why we need, and that's why I mentioned the entrepreneur first. You need, if you are a large company and you are going from A to Z, you need an entrepreneur. Okay, so the chief of the program need to behave like an entrepreneur, putting the best of each person surrounding him on the table. Let's put the technology readiness level on horizontal. And here, 1 to 2 is the job of the public R&D resource center. 2, you have already applied R&D centers, and you will see large corporation able to do such a type of research. When they are in their strategic roadmap, they shook hand here. Generally, they do consortium and they are advancing on R&D. And then the large corporation is able to inject the product into the market, okay? Nowadays, large corporation had a very strong policy called open innovation. They are working with technology scouters all over in the world. They are fishing for new technologies, and they are able to inject in TRL6 competitors tech demonstrator, and the best will gonna win, okay? The startup business is to take something from laboratory and inject it into the technology demonstrator. He's making a venture on existing market, or he's going himself on a niche market. Small and medium enterprise, very few here, that's why is the dotted lines, have R&D capacities to shook hand with the laboratories in order to do tech transfer and allow to the small and medium enterprise to innovate, okay? And this is weird because exactly here, it is an equity gap in the innovation. A lot of ideas die here because nobody's crazy enough to invest in TRL3 while you still have risk on technology, to develop a technology to reach the tech demonstrator. They are so crazy that that's why we call them angels. This is the business angels business. Invest here, okay? That's why we need dedicated structures, need for collaborative tools, and demand readiness level versus technology readiness level method. I will exemplify further. if we take this, we put it a little bit, we shrink it. Why? In order to put the revenue curves, in also to add the expenditure curves, and try to reach this positive cash flow where the plus is bigger than the minus in order to have a return on investment. Okay, this is the life of an innovator. He is sticked in the technology readiness level from technological point of view, and he is stick from budgetary point of view in how to create the plus, getting outside the debt valley. Okay, we need, as we mentioned here, collaborative tools, tech transfer office towards small and medium enterprise. I have some friends in the United States, namely Thomas O'Neill, who also statistically discovered that transferring technology to small and medium enterprise is the best tool in terms of leverage, not the startup. Transfer it to an existing company. Of course, you need incubators to launch good startups, and you need business angels, and sometimes here public-private partnership where you don't have business angel. Additionally, here, while you already made the technology demonstrator well, it's good. You still need to invest to production and so on to de-risk the market, and that's why the venture capital Series A are specialized on market sectors. And then you need the Series B and so on. And here, it's a modern tool also occurred in the last 5 years, scale-up accelerators to cross the chasm, and the venture capital Series B, of course, because everybody is waiting for such an explosion, smooth, but in true life, things are going like this, okay? So there are accelerators specialized in scale-up, and the Israeli guy, as so the American guys, are calling them scalarators. So that's a new tool also. The guys who launch this are learning by doing, but definitely we need here some tools. Now, all the comments you've seen until now, all this analysis, you have it based on TRL, okay? When I was asked by the Technology Transfer Society to publish something related to market pull versus technological push approach while innovating, I was trying to put the projects I was driven for Onera in terms of TRL in order to understand where Onera is transferring technology, and I got nothing. I got a cloud of points. So there I said, well, I'm trying to measure something with the wrong tool. It's like measuring a temperature with a manometer or a pressure with a thermometer. It doesn't work. So I was there sitting in front of my table board and saying, technological push, I have the TRL, market pull, let's find market readiness level. And I found it. It was made by a Boston Consulting Group, but it was measuring the degree of acceptance by a market about the intention to inject a new product. So it was too far. Already the product was developed. So there I understood that I need to measure the degree of maturity for the need. So the first demand readiness level, I call it degree of maturity for the expression of a need. I was quite macho, I said demand. Well, luckily I have a wife at home. She's specialist in communication. I say, no, honey, you cannot oppose demand to TRL. You need to put it demand readiness level. But how I built it? I built it because I was worried about even my customers were asking me, what is your TRL? I was trying to sell technology and they were asking me, what is your TRL? I was sunk in the technology while my intention was the one to listen to them, what are their needs, and they didn't speak to me with their needs because they were asking me about the TRL. So I created by opposition, okay? You have on the right the TRL in counter order. So you start with fundamental research down and you finish with market certification at 9. And I built the demand readiness level through an inverse analogy. I said, what is the fundamental research? It's a dream. It's something you don't understand. It's the same stuff. If you don't have the occurrence of a feeling that something is missing, you have no need. If you don't have no need, you will not innovate. It's starting with you understand that something is missing. Then in level 2, you precise what is missing. I identify my specific need. I'm on a mountain in trekking and I want to share what I see with my beloved. Okay, so I want to share information about what I'm feeling. Okay, what are the expected functionalities of a new product service? Okay, I want to send the sound, I want to send the visual, I want to send odors and so on. Okay, then in 4, you quantify the expected functionalities. Okay, I could not send odor because I don't have a chemical nose with me, but I could send voice, yes, but to send image, well, I need a satellite connection. So maybe I will not do it like this. I will register the image and I will transfer it once I will be on ground and I will have a 4G. Okay, so like this, you prioritize and you quantify the expected functionalities. In 4, you already need what it is to be done, okay? So now it's time to empower the systemic capabilities. You give the power to your entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial team, okay? So you identify the systemic capabilities, including the project leadership. You need to define it and to empower it. These guys will be able to translate in 6, DRL 6, the expected functionalities into needed capabilities to build a response. Then in 7, you break down the capabilities on resources and competencies. In 8, you identify the experts possessing the competencies, and in 9, you build the answers. It seems to be easy, but it was not existing before. So you know about the law of Pareto. I've been research scientist in structure and materials, quite, I would say, not modestly, successful, because I was the only French being into the contract, depending on the French army, receiving money from DARPA, from Pentagon, okay, on cellular materials. But from 10 years of researcher in structure and materials, I had 15 publications, and around in 2012, when I stopped the count, I had around 150 citations based on my work, okay? As soon as I published DRL versus TRL, I received in less than 6 months, 150 citations. And I say, Pareto, wow, it works, Pareto, okay? Because it took me, well, my experience, but it took me only a half an hour to formalize the demand readiness level. And then I have 150 citation. Additionally, while measuring when Onera is transferring technology, I understood that we transfer technology at each TRL level and each demand readiness level, but only when the sum DRL plus TRL was superior to 9. It's a normal matter. It's a offer meeting a demand. It's so easy, okay? And then you could generalize the concept. And you generalize the concept by putting them in 2 axes. I simplified only on 3 levels. So lab, field, and certification, then functionalities on DRL, functionalities and capabilities and building the answer. And it became an innovation process readiness diagram, okay? And there you have bubbles of actions we could see here. So if you have a very high demand, you know what, here you know what you want to do. Then you empower people to lead projects, and then they discover that the technology doesn't exist. So you have only experts, but which are scientists, because you don't have technology in 9 ready to answer. What is your job? Okay, you take the decision to invest on internal R&D. Or if you don't have the competencies in-house, you buy them, you hire people. If you are not allowed to hire people so easy, well, you outsource the IP, you outsource the R&D, but you control the IP. Okay, so this is how you justify this bubble. Here it's opposite. You are a research center and your industrial partner told you when you are reaching the level 6, 7 that no way, we cut the program, we don't want to build this. Well, you still have a tech demonstrator which is working very well. So you need to search for cross applications in other sectors and of course to promote it on the IP market, okay? Each bubble like this, I could justify, but we don't have time. I could answer to questions and you will have my coordinate at the end. You could ask for questions, but each bubble like this could be justified. Here you need to build your business plan, model, service. Here you make a SWOT analysis in positioning the tech to the market and so on. Here you launch a collaborative R&D, which is very interesting. It's everything in blue, it's activity to explorers. In red, it's activities to related to R&D laboratory. And when it's mixed, it's already because you need to be 2, okay? So which is double line circled, well, you are not alone anymore. Here you still could be alone except for collaborative R&D, but this means that, here are the limits for sales, okay? You have the technology certified and you already understood what are your needs in the market since TRL 3. You identify the functionalities expected, okay? This is the limit of sales. Here you have more market pool projects on the corner on left up and corner right down, more technological push activities. On the corner right up, you are on a transaction-based innovation process, and in a corner down left, well, you are more on a tech push, and let's say you are alone on yourself, and here when you have the TRL less than 3 and you even don't identify the expected functionalities, well, it's fundamental, it's non-competitive research and technology, okay? Well, what are the impacts? The R&D centers will become from center of competencies, they will change their job. They will become centers, plants of production of proof of concept. The innovation structures will become first center for technology scouting elsewhere. I have a friend in Safran, which opposite to the not invented here syndrome, he created a new syndrome and an evaluation rule to promote people. He created a new syndrome called PFE, proudly found elsewhere. As soon you reward people that they found a technology elsewhere, well, you have collaborative innovation, okay? Center for demo tech production will be, and this is a KPI to measure the impact, and you hybridize the market pool with the technology push inside the innovation structures using the method DRL versus TRL. By the way, I don't claim it's the only method. I've seen some very interesting works too, but it's a method who's working very well. Development offices and programs, they become production integrator of new technologies occurring there. Supply chain offices, they need to work together to identify new technologies elsewhere. Qualifying and reinforcing startups. Ask to a supply chain manager to do this, and there you will understand who are the good among the worst, okay? So in France, I see that only one supply chain manager among 10 is able to carry such an activity, qualify array for startups. Intermediating and negotiating tech transfer and cross licensing support, working with innovation structures together, okay? From the innovation process, not from where the product is already existing because it's too late. Financial, well, the financial need to be also educated to invest on innovation path and not an innovation cycle because they will lose money if not. And as a culture, I claim we need to go for an agile thinking in a way from design thinking to agile thinking. Some biography here, okay? And thank you for your attention. And these are my coordinates. I finished my presentation.
Florin,
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, fantastic presentation and insights, lots of insights for all of us. Let me get you started, and I'm going to ask the people on the audience to introduce themselves, what country they're from, and what the question is, and that way we can go fast. I'm going to give them some time to think about the questions. I'll ask a longer question. Have you been able to transfer this mindset of technologists to have a market mindset? So the technology push is quite good. If you're a technologist, hey, that's what we do. But there is, as you said, the DRL part of it. And the DRL is really understanding the customer, the market, the niche, the early adopters, and all that kind of stuff, which is not always there. So within your organization of aerospace, have you been able to take your technologists, your scientists, your engineers to have that mindset of not invented here, best innovation found outside, and at the same time do the 2x2 matrix or the 10x10 matrix that you created? And they quickly map their technology and say, I've got an action plan. I have an action plan to go get somebody outside, partner, collaborate or something, but I don't need to do this alone because I'm at level 3. I need a level 7 partner on the DRL. Or I'm at level 8, I need a level 2 partner on the DRL to get above 9, as you said. So I would like to understand, I love the theory. It makes sense to me. Now the question is executing it with human beings who are the most painful on the planet.
You know, Hitendra, here in Europe, we had a say who said that the devil is into the details. In order that the concept became practice, it's only a matter of humans. As you mentioned, how the scientists will move towards this culture.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. He is interested about being promoted, having more money, and being recognized. So it took me 1.5 years to change the rule of evaluation of a scientist inside Onera. When I convinced the general scientific director of Onera that a patent it's worth 3 publications and a license is worth 10 publications, I transform all the 1,500 researchers of Onera in sailors, vendors of their technology. I move Onera from 1 license each 2 years based on a personal willingness and acquaintance of a scientist passionate about his stuff, and together with my commercials trying to push them, I move this to 15 licenses per year. I move Onera from 10 patents per year because Airbus and Snegma ask us to patent to a record of 50 patents per year, because a patent validated at international level was worth 3 publications. So you see here, Andra, each time it's a matter of managing people. You got it right. It's about how to change their culture. And the only thing you can do to change the culture is change the rules of a game. If you don't change the rules of the game, you could also do something else, but it is 10 times more energetic, provoke on cultural basis.
Very
It's
good.
also working. It's also working, okay?
So,
So,
Florin, a lot of insights. I used to work in Motorola, and we were a industrial technology company where we would go all the way from basic research all the way to commercialization.
yeah,
And we had so much intellectual property and technology, and we never spend the time saying what's a DRL. If we had spent the time doing the DRL, we could have created partnerships much earlier with other people who are better suited to commercialize on us.
absolutely. And you could also license your patents elsewhere in other sectors. I give you the idea. Do you know what is the license which bringing the most to Airbus in license?
Anybody?
It is the friction stir welding process used by Apple to build their laptops.
Aluminum welding.
Aluminum welding through friction stir welding. Rolf, a German guy who was leading the IP valorization, was very proud about this.
Florin, let me ask the people on the group over here to see if they've got questions or things to add. We've got people who are from management consulting firms, technology consulting firms.
I seen that Timofey Sednev already have a question in the chat.
Who does? Timo? Put your hand up, Timo, or just please speak up. Timofey, if you have a question, good.
Yes, sure. I
camera on if you want to.
I apologize. I'm not in the most convenient position. My question disappeared. I had some problems with the internet, but the question was about that diagram that you presented in the penultimate slide, where you were showing the TRL and DRL relationship. I was just wondering if that diagram has been applied to any real practice cases, and if it has been applied to some case studies, and if it can be replicated and used with, let's say, other client engagements.
I got it, Timofey. Me personally, I continuously applied for all the others projects that they came into Onera until 2018 when I left Onera because they, let's say, not because they are not good anymore, but because they put a little bit more militaries in, and I don't want to work with more militaries. It's a personal reason. It's not a critic, but also European Innovation Council adopted and modified, and they are building the so-called innovation readiness diagram. And I'm also expert for them on the innovation radar, called like this now, for all the transition projects, because EIC is funding Pathfinder, Transition, and Accelerator. So in the transition, to push things towards the market, they use the innovation readiness diagram. And by the way, the DRL versus TRL alone become, so not in 2Ds, become a major decision tools to invest for a lot of VCs in Europe.
Thank you, Florin. We got a question from Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman, if you want to turn on your camera and ask your question, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hintendra and Mr. Florin. Okay, I'm interested with your presentation about innovation process maturity. Yeah, is this model can be used in open innovation, sir?
It is very important for open innovation when you are very related to the right upper corner. So where you are in a transaction based, okay? So it's how to look onto a market for cross application you couldn't see it, how to look for a partner which already had the technology and you want to a license from him because you are in aerospace and he's coming from automotive and so on. Okay, just an example. I was this morning in a hydrogen tanker meeting, and we know that for smaller reservoirs we will need composite, and we will not look in RAFO to develop our own reservoir, but we're gonna buy composite hydrogen reservoir which are already good for 700 bars. Okay, but we will integrate for bigger tankers our offer in cryogenic, and together we could make a complete offer to an industrial group like Airbus, which also possess more than 50% of ATR and so on. And depending the length of the transportation, an ATR could charge 700 bars, or a cryogenic if you are using it for 400 kilometers or for 1,200 kilometers, so on. So yes, the answer is.
So maybe to support Abdul Rahman's question now about open innovation, one of the things that we do at GIMI is we work with technology companies, and they are looking for a home for the technology. It's a technology push. And on the other side, what we have is an open innovation program made up of MBA students, and they're from all over the world. So 5 students from different universities are provided to this company, saying, I have a technology which is a plastic that acts like steel. We've got a new technology which allows us to do ABC, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
And so this student teams then go around the world looking for solutions, trying to figure out whether it's a mature market, or it's a new emerging market, nascent market, niche market, and do you have to develop the market, or do you have to educate the market, and then find partners for that. And this is a link that we provide to them without really putting the DRL model on it. We just have to scan the world to hopefully find a match between their technology in terms of what maturity it might be in, with the market maturity, to see whether they work together. And we've had some success on this front also. And so just to answer our previous speaker, there are logical reasons why people in a company don't look around so much. Their own KPIs.
I do the same with my MBA students in Toulouse. I'm using them in order to create examples of the use of DRL versus TRL.
Perfect. So there's ways to match those.
Okay. May I ask again, Mr. Florin?
Please.
Sure.
Okay, as we know that open innovation now changing to open innovation 2.0, yeah, that will face to massive innovation, not just internal and external organization, but all stakeholder in innovation, maybe academic firms, social and the others, and will create more values for all stakeholder here. So I think the challenge in innovation process maturity that Mr. Florin explained to us before, yeah, it will become a chance for us, yeah, to make a maturity for open innovation 2.0, for example.
Abdurrahman, for open innovation 2.0, I will tell you who are the killers of such a process. The killers is not invented here, and second, the legals.
Okay.
Okay, so of course, this diagram in itself, it doesn't solve you the problem. You need to teach to your legal how to very fast sign a license. And this is not easy. Believe me, they are culturally stuck in their minds, you know. So you need to discuss with the CEO and to have support with the CEO and to innovate in the legal practices of the company. Not only incentivize your own experts to look for other technologies. So you reward them monetary, I mean financial, based on proudly found elsewhere and not internally developed, done, okay? And like this, they will run themselves for finding technology outside because they will have a reward, okay? It's so basic, I will say. It's a shame because you need to manipulate like this people, but it works. And then also on legal, you need to push them to innovate. And just I will tell you what I learned also from Boeing Phantom Works. The guy came to me in Santiago de Chile, where I was exposing Onera, and he made me sign something that I was allowed to sign as innovation director, a license provisional. Let me explain what it's meaning this. He said that I'm taking 30 days to discuss exclusively with him about how to license lightning strike modeling from Onera to Boeing, with no engagement that we signed a license, but he built the necessary trust for 30 days in order to discuss only about lightning strike issue on 787, which was fully composite, okay? And of course, it doesn't disturb Airbus, because when you discuss about, security, it's a matter for everybody, okay? Airbus didn't allow us to help Boeing to have more performant aircraft, but they allowed us to help them in modeling the lightning strike. But I found the invention of the tool as licensing provisional by reserving exclusive rights to discuss. They say, Florin, it's up to me to convince you in 30 days that I'm the good guy you have to work with.
I like that, Florin. I think that's brilliant. And this is an innovation management tool.
Absolutely.
It allows two people to discuss and share and exchange ideas without breaking rules.
But you see here, Rendra, it's an innovation management tool which is used by the legals of the company.
Yep. And we need to do that. Yeah. I think what Florin is saying to all of us is, be careful. You follow the rules of your organization. It's going to be an NO for innovation. But you need to find ways to be able to collaborate with people outside. And you've got to find things that are still within the rules of the organization. Otherwise, they will stop you, and understand that. But
Hitendra, my lecture at the Toulouse Aerospace MBA, it's on 3 days. Do you know the title? The title is Innovation Process, Financing, and Human Factors among the process. Because nothing else. It's a matter of different people which successfully work together.
Yep.
And more they are different, more they will create value if they are working together. And all the problem of an innovation manager, I was saying, I'm not a director. I'm an animator. I'm a wedding counselor.
The catalyst.
Yes.
That's why this just a quick comment. This is Ron Jonash on that. A number of years ago for Dow Chemical, I ended up making several presentations to the board because the legal department at Dow was kind of rightfully felt that their mission was to protect the crown jewels and IP of Dow. And they had destroyed, literally, I had like 10 case studies. They had destroyed every potential partnership and sharing relationship that Dow had with any outside technology companies. But it took me 6 months. And finally, the board first threatened and legal wouldn't bend. And so then they just unilaterally hired outside counsel to be used for all collaborations in the future and to represent both parties. So it is, human factors is a big piece of this, and it's not easy to get around.
At each level, because when you discuss with the financials, it's something else. When you discuss with the legal, it's something else. That's why I said the only guy who's seeing all the projects from the beginning to the end is the so-called program manager. And he needs to be entrepreneurially wired, because all the people around him in a large corporation will change except him. So, and this is the definition. I was joking when George W. said that the French don't know what means entrepreneur. I was joking in a French Open Innovation Parliamentary Conference, because I said, you know, I'm a Romanian in France as origin. So, and I know what means entrepreneur, because it's coming from French. And it means entrepreneur, which means between parties. Parties which collectively took part to a process to create value.
But it means that he or she has enemies in every silo of the organization, and their job security is at zero. So they have to continue to produce millions of dollars, or they lose their job.
Ronald, I used to say that I put my head on the guillotine of my president at least 7 times. And I did it against the accounting officer, which belonged to another ministry, because ONERA, you know, it's public. My president, it's a MOD agent, and the accounting was a Bercy, it was an economist. And they don't listen to each other, you know. So he used me to negotiate with the accounting.
Let's take this last question from Bob, and then we'll bring this thing to an end. Florin, we need to try and close by 10 o'clock if possible, but we are beyond 10 right now.
So this is a carry-on for the human aspect. One is I've done some research asking people, if I send something out, I would know what would come back. The fundamental issue that we have, and it relates to what Jimmy's doing, is the difference between and people and or people. So somehow we have to find the and people inside an organization and get them networked up together in a collaborative cluster. The or people, I don't think, are ever going to change. So my question to you is there a way or ways that you've seen in any organization where the and people are willing to go out and network with other people and can get networked faster than the or people can create the defense? I mean, this is a fundamental question that we have here on people, right? How do you get the and people together and create what you've already done? You've got some great ideas of creating not the whole space, but just part of the space for the end people.
Bob, it reminds me, once I was mentoring a student doing a master degree in IP here and being an engineer at the beginning. And he had a full thesis on the value of the IP. And I was reading this and I say, guy, you are completely wrong. Because Rad Katz told me in Harvard that best technology values nothing without the right carrier into the market. Okay, so how you could make a full thesis, a report on the value of the IP without not speaking about who's the man in charge with? And I was very, very, very enthusiastic when I discovered the whole set of batteries of tests in human resources. Okay, you know the process com. It is the workaholic, the rebellious, the dreamer, the promoter, and so on. Well, a good human resource people will tell you who is a good animator, who's a good empathic guy, which will go at the exterior, not as a sailor, but as a bridge builder, as a partnership, partnerial relationship builder. Because when you are dealing with technology, you marry yourself with the others for years. It's not a sailing act. It's not a transaction. It's a let's live together for 7 years, for 10 years. And there you need empathy, guys. So if your sailors are simply promoter, forget about, they will do nothing. So you are asking me about which are these kind of hybrid guys. We don't have time, but you know what I made to the open innovation funnel of Professor Chesbro? I had the chance, he told to Professor Wim Barbeken, who represent him in Europe, to preface one of my books, okay? So I had I could discuss with him, because I put on his open innovation funnel, at each hall, I put a human sitting in. I had this slide with humans sitting in on all the halls in the open innovation funnel of Professor Chesbro, where technology is getting in or getting out. You have a human there. You need to control this exit and in, okay, with hybrid, entrepreneurially and empathic wired people. And that's where you need the help of human research. Through tests, they will see that if they are rebel and if they are empathic. If not, they could not do it.
All right.
A workaholic guy there will only do not invented here. I'm not criticizing the others, but as a manager, you need to use them in adapted positions. You could not use an open innovation officer, which is workaholic or perfectionist, even worse. Yeah. He will stick to his rules, the way of doing things. You need a rebellious, eventually not a dreamer, because the dreamer don't want to talk with others, forget about. You need a rebellious or empathic guy. And the human research are able to detect this kind of human typologies nowadays. And I'm working a lot with them, by the way.
Florin, this is a great topic and another conversation, I think, of which we should bring on our next session at some point. I think there were two major messages that we learned today. There is this thing about technology readiness, and there is this thing about demand readiness. And if you were to map them against each other orthogonally, you should be able to create a whole bunch of strategies on how to naturally win. And Florin has really codified it well by saying if you can sum the numbers together to be greater than 9, then you should consider doing that, because that's the likelihood of success on capturing value. Not just creating value, but capturing value. And that was the big insight inside this conversation for all of us, saying we can all walk away by doing this. But behind this is, again, at the end, the difficulty of how. And we talk about human interactions, human issues, and how humans get in the way, whether it's legal silos, whether it's people, or people and people, and all that kind of stuff together. But it can be managed. I think we're coming to the point that we've got tools, we've got frameworks, and we know what kind of people we need, and we can kind of put this thing together if you plan for it. But if you don't plan for it, you're doomed. This can be managed.
Let's going back to a mentor in a way. Capability. I was asked to present a tool now. A tool, it's a part of a capacity. But we also discuss about the ability to use this capacity, okay? And it's only capacity plus ability which build capability, which is always dynamic, as Amartya Sen said. So I was there, I was here to present a tool. And we discuss also about ability, so whatever.
It's good. It's good that we discussed it. And it's good that we understand that there are tools and there are people who will be needed for both of those things. So we need to pay attention to both of those things. So I think we learned a lot today in this presentation, Florin. This is the sort of conversations that we want to have with our GIMI think tank members. The members of GIMI are either themselves chief innovation officers, or they are consultants or trainers in the space of innovation, helping corporations, SMEs, governments, and universities innovate, or they are academics, professors who are teaching it to MBA students and other people. So this is the sort of topic that we need to keep on pushing on. And then if it has legs, people will come and talk to you, reach out to you and say, can we use that framework? We have a white paper. We can distribute it very broadly, very quickly. But the idea over here is, on one side, you have been introduced to our network. Our network should reach out to you. And hopefully we can increase the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem of the community of innovators around the world. So with that, I would like to invite you back again at some point around maybe another topic around the same area called innovation. But for myself, I speak for myself, I certainly learned a lot, and I've got lots of ideas buzzing in my head. And I think I'll have a great couple of weeks and months thinking about what to do and how to do it, how to apply some of the things.
I will send or I already sent it, Arila. I don't know. If not, I will send my presentation to Arila to be.
Yes, please, Florin.
Good.
And from our side, we'd like you to join us on this Wednesday meetings where we get other people speaking also. So you could be part of the vibrant the community, but also ask pointed, difficult questions that makes us all go, aha, I wish I would have thought of that. Questions are the really powerful things in here also. We need good audiences with us too. So we'll let you know what the invitations are, and I hope you'll be joining our community on a long-term basis.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you very much, and we will bring this session, the speech to an end.